Hi guys, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to use IceCube and how to use all the different little features on it. It's not going to be a guide on how to create an animation or a character or anything. You have to know a little bit of Blender before going into this, so if you're brand new, don't start here. Watch a few other tutorials to get the basics of Blender down, and then you can come back here. IceCube is targeted towards more advanced users, but anyone can use it. This tutorial aims to bridge that gap a little, so it should be easier after this. So to begin, I'm going to start with a feature overview, which will cover all the little details about every feature on IceCube, what they do, and how to use them. Then, I will cover an how-to kind of section, which will answer some basic questions about the rig, how to do this, how to do that. Nothing super complex, but some simple things that I've seen asked around in the Discord before. Then I'll cover known issues on the rig, because there are a few, issues with the rig that need to be addressed. There are limitations. And then finally, I will cover a list of resources to help you keep learning beyond this tutorial. Before we begin, please, if you haven't, go watch the installation tutorial. I will not cover that again here, and you are expected to have already set that up by now. Okay, to start with, once you've got your Blender opened, you won't see anything. You can't go to File or any of that. You can't depend like you might have seen on other rigs. This one's a bit different. So to access the rig, you're going to want to go up to this Add menu, go down to IceCube, and then append one of them. So we're going to just use default for this tutorial. And you can see we have our character right here now. So to access the panel and where you're going to be doing most of the configuration for the rig, you're going to want to select the actual armature, which are these yellow lines that surround the character. You won't see it if you select the mesh or the head or anything like that, but press N on your keyboard to bring up the side menu and find IceCube. Once you do, you'll see this menu. You can expand it if you want, if it's too small for you. It's up to personal preference. So if the rig doesn't appear, make sure you haven't selected it like this where you have it in dark orange. Because if you do, then it won't show up on the side. You have to have this in this yellowish color, or whatever your other theme says it should be. If it doesn't show up on the sidebar, even when you have the character selected properly, and you've installed the rig properly, please join my Discord server and we can work something out with you there and sort of try and solve it together. So, to pose the rig, what you're going to want to do is first, make sure you're in pose mode. If you're not, you're just going to grab the rig, move it around, and nothing's going to happen. So go up to the top, click Object, and then click Pose Mode. Now, what you can do is you can select these individual controllers and press G, R, and S to move them around. Otherwise, you can bring up the side menu and use these controllers to rotate it for you. I personally just use the keybinds though. So now what we're going to want to do is just show you kind of what the controls do. Most of them are pretty self-explanatory, like the root bone at the bottom, the head and all that. All of these can be scaled and rotated unless they're connected directly, like an elbow or something. You can use the feet to these feet controllers for that. There is a foot roll to help angle during walk cycles. There is a pole, which has a visual thing. You can't select that, so don't worry about it. But just this little pointer will help you angle the knee. So if I move this up, I can use this to help point it into a specific direction. This is the main waist control, useful for walk cycles and stuff. You've got the upper legs, bottom hip, upper torso, a breathing control. You can use this to help the character give a sense of life. Shoulder controls, upper arm, elbow, and wrist. You also get twist controllers at the bottom to help exaggerate poses. So if you need something to kind of do that, you can bend backwards a little and then do that. It's very useful for animations and smear frames too. Head controller, self-explanatory. Head squish, it does exactly what you think it does. Squishes and stretches the head. You have mouth controllers over here. You can move it, rotate it, scale it. This is what the scaling does. You can directly grab these controllers. If you notice visual artifacts, you might be pushing the rig beyond its limits, or it can be because of Simplify. We have a blink controller, We have a rounded side mouth, which is useful to create the look of other face rigs in some other programs like Minimator. We have teeth controllers on the side. These control where the teeth are, just in the mouth. And we have an F emote one, which will pull the bottom lip in, which will create the look of a f. So that's useful for lip syncing. We have the main eye controller, move, rotate, scale. We have these side bits, which are also individual per each eye, but this is the main one. We have the eyebrow controller. We have these squares are the emotions for the eyelids. Scaling and rotating them also does all of that. And these are the position controllers for the eyes and eyebrows respectively. Mouth position controller and a jaw controller. You may notice that the texture deforms when you're moving this stuff around. That is a visual issue only in solid mode. In your final render it will be fine and you can move it. You can toggle it on if you want, but by default it won't distort anything. So let's say you imported the wrong one. You can either start over on your file, which might not always be an option, or delete the rig. To delete it, go up to your outliner in the corner of your screen. Right click on IceCube and click Delete Hierarchy. That'll remove it from the scene completely. Now, there are still textures and assets left in your scene, and if you want to remove those, you can go to File, Clean Up, Purge Unused Data. And you can see it'll get rid of all these extra objects you don't need. This is good to clean up your scene outside of IceCube 2. And then blenders back to default. So let's put our own skins on this now. So what you're going to want to do is bring up the IceCube panel, just like shown before, and expand the style category. And then under style, there's skin. Now, there's a few different ways you can do this. You can either type in your username here, and I will do that real quick. And it'll download your skin. Now, as you can see, the eyes don't look too great because the skin is just taken from Minecraft. This isn't a skin made for models and stuff. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to save your skin somewhere else and use a image editing software to remove the eyes, or find a skin that doesn't need a face, or optionally you can just toggle off the face rig if you just want to use the character rig on its own. So there's another way of applying the skin. So what you're going to want to do is you see this box and it looks like it has two files in it. Click it and click Remove Pack. Now you'll see it is an empty little box. And click this folder icon to go find your skin. And there you go. Now the skin has applied successfully. You can see it has no face and it works this time. That's it. Another thing is you get a little skin library right here. So if I were to download my skin with the username, it is stored in IceCube. If I were to download another skin, then you can see it is also now in this library. And no matter how many skins I download, it'll continue showing up in here. And you can go into this library, select one of the skins, and click Apply to put that skin on your character. If you want to delete the skin, you can click Delete Skin, and it'll reset it back to default. And let's say you have another skin applied, you can click Reset Skin to take it back to IceCube's default without removing it from the library. Alright, so now I'm going to discuss all the different features of the panel. So I'm going to start with the first one. To begin, there is the add-on info panel. This will have the name of the rig and the version of the rig, and there's a few different buttons in here. If you click the website button, it'll open up a panel to the IceCube website. And this is where you can check for updates and check for new projects, for anything IceCube related. The character rig, you can see this is the latest version. The asset library, which there will be a separate tutorial for. And IceCube tools, which now release eventually. Still work in progress. And all the information about the rig you'll need is here. There is a support and Discord button. This will take you to my Discord where you can ask for support and help on the rig. This one will open up a wiki for the rig, which contains even more information than this tutorial can cover. And this will be able to help you with everything related to the rig. It is constantly being updated and has all the latest features on it. Use this when there's no tutorial available. Advanced mode is a toggle for the rig. We will come back to this later. Just ignore it for now. And Now there is a check for updates button. You can press this, and as you can see, I have no new updates, but later on, you can press that button to see, and later on, you can press that button to see if there's a new version of the rig available. And if there is, go to the website and download it. So to move on to the next panel, I'm going to cover the workflow panel. There's a lot of options here, and it can be a bit confusing for your first time through. To begin with, we have a performance and high quality switch. This will basically lower down the quality of the mesh when you set it to performance. You'll see it loses its texture, it's all solid, and the mesh is going to be very fast to work with. This is good if you have a low-end computer and you need something simple to animate with. This will allow you to, well, just animate smoothly. You can see the teeth will clip through the head, but when I go back to high quality, it'll be fine. You do not have to worry about switching back before render, it will show up perfectly fine in render. Now, let's say you want to use IK on one of the arms. So, what you're going to want to do is open up Bone Collections and do the open up Bone Collections and enable the IK bones. Next, turn the slider for the IK on the arm you're working for all the way up. It'll change it to the IK mode, which you can now use like this. And when you're done, you can slide it back down to normal IK. You can go back and forth. There is Stretch too, which will allow the arms to stretch beyond their normal limits when you have IK enabled. And Wrist Lock will lock the wrist to the IK controller, so if your character has a hand on a table or a wall or something, it'll always line up, no matter what they're doing. The same principles apply to the bottom of the leg. You can take these controllers and then ankle lock, stretch, which will stop the leg from stretching, and the IK controller as a whole. If you have a character that doesn't need the Ice Cube face rig or any of that, you can click this button to toggle off the face, and you'll be left with the blank character, but all of its normal features will still work. Underneath the face rig, there is a slider called Fluid Face Strength. This will allow the face to become more dynamic. So you can see if I take these eyes and I move them around, they're very static. But when I turn this up, the eyes will now adjust with it. You can see a difference if I were to throw together a quick little pose. Now, if I were to slide the Fluid Face controller, you can see it pulls the eyelids and stuff to make them more dynamic. You don't have to have this at 1 or 0, you can adjust it to the strength you want, and the rest of the character rig will adapt. Next we have Blink Position, which will change how the eyes blink. Right now you can see they kind of go down to this little lower half of the eye, but if I were to change this to 5, they go directly in the middle, and down to 0, all the way to the bottom. And it's very useful for adjusting the style of your character. Sometimes you need more, sometimes you need less. We will return to Blink Position later with the custom Blink controllers. Global Head Rotation, abbreviated as Global Head Rods, will allow the head to stand on its own from the rotation of the body. Useful for animations where the character is shaking around a lot and you don't want to counteract that. Cartoon Mouth is a toggle for the cartoony lips and mouth style. You can use the normal mouth control for this. You can move it around, make it smile or frown, and that's basically it. You can move it and scale it manually if you want, and you can get custom shapes with this, with these individual controllers. Next we have Texture Deform, which if you remember at the beginning I mentioned the deform here. Toggling Texture Deform will make it actually happen in render mode. You can see it looks a little distorted, but in the final it will be smoother, just for performance. Next we have Lock Limb Rotation. This isn't as clear as some of the other settings, but basically if you take something like the arm and you try and rotate it, it's just like that. It's locked to this one axis indicated by this blue line. Toggling this off, however, and you can now rotate the arm freely. You can twist it, you can bend it backwards and around, and the reason this isn't enabled by default is two things. First, style. This is still a Minecraft rig, and you still want to have these normal limitations in place. It's not compatible with another feature that I'll come back to later down the line. Now we have the Update Rest Pose and the Reset Rest Pose. These go hand in hand. So sometimes you might have a character that is in a different position than default. Maybe their arms are by their sides, Or if we enable mirroring real quick, maybe they have their arms like that, and their face rig is slightly lower, higher up, their mouth is lower, and their eyes are bigger. If you don't want to have to save this pose manually, and every time you reset the character it undoes all that, you can click Update Rest Pose, which will set up a custom pose for the rig. So now I can go through, pose the character, and then if I were to reset the rig, it'll keep this position no matter what I do to it. Take this arm, move these out, rotate the body, rotate the head, reset, it'll always go back to this new position you set. Resetting the rest pose will undo that, so now you can reset it perfectly fine, back to defaults. If you noticed earlier when I was messing with IK, I had to open up this bone collections panel. Basically, there are way too many controllers on the rig to have visible at all times, so I hid them behind bone collections. So if you want to, you can toggle on the IK bones, and they won't work on their own. You have to enable the setting for them like mentioned before. But this allows you to enable them if you know you're going to need them, or keep them hidden if you never plan on it. You can hide the FK bones, you can toggle the tweak controllers, you can toggle finger tweaks, and all of the other controllers you'll need. It's all pretty self-explanatory, just know that if you enable something and you don't see the bones for it, check here. So now I'm going to go into the style category. This one's very complicated. There are tons of settings, but they're also very repetitive. So once you understand some of them, the rest will kind of just click. At the top we have an arm type selector, which has the options of Steve, Alex, and Thin. It does exactly what you think it does. Steve arms, Alex arms, and then Thin arms, which are 3x3 pixels. And that's all you have to worry about with this. Next we have bend smoothness. By default it is set to 0. So when you bend the arm, you can see that it has a slight curve to it. That's a stylistic choice by me. But if you don't like it, you can take this bend smoothness and move it to -1 or -0.1, and you get a normal Minecraft rig bend. And if you want a smoother arm bend, you can take this and move it up, and you can get this noodly, this very cartoony styled arm bend. It's all up to your own preference, and you can adjust it to how you like. Next, we have the body bend shape. On the newest version of Ice Cube, the bend is a lot shorter on the body compared to the previous version, which gives a more realistic and easy to animate approach. But if you don't like that, you can go into this slider and change that, which gives it back to its old kind of whole body bend look from before. You can see some of the slight differences when I pose it like this. It's all up to you on what you want. It's a personal preference. Next we have these arm and leg scale sliders. These will scale the arms down or the legs, so if you need thinner arms but you don't want to lose the 4x4 pixel nature, you can use these. Next we have fingers, and these finger controls are pretty simple. Unlike the other controls, they do hide and show the controllers as needed. Most of them anyway. To use them, you select this big ball and you can press G and X to move it on the X-axis, and this will move the fingers out. G and Z, which will open and close the hand, and G and Y will spread and close the fingers. You can use all of these at the same time, and rotation too, to get the effect you want, which makes the hands very easy to use. You also get individual finger controls, which work similar, except just per finger. And these are all compatible with the twist and scale and everything. And there's another setting called Thumb Fill, which when toggled on will fill in the corners of the hands when the fingers are closed, and when you open them forward, it'll reopen. It's a little buggy if you pull it inwards, but that's just how it is. It's useful for doing animations where you need to hide the fact that they have fingers until they open it, and you don't want to toggle fingers back and forth. But by default, it will have this little hole in the corner. So next up, we have the tapers. There's a lot of tapers here. Don't get intimidated by it, they're very simple. To start off, we have a simple head taper. This tapers the top of the head outwards, and that's it. Useful for stylistic stuff. This tapers the head outwards, and that's it. We have a hip slider, which will, well, move the hips in. I would personally recommend a lower value, but you can go all the way up if for some reason you need it. We have a upper body taper, which can go in and out. Lower body taper, which does the same. And we have arm tapers. All these are pretty self-explanatory. They're nothing crazy, and you can do all of them, none of them, whatever you want. Next we have the bulge sliders, which will round out the corners of the rig. So if I do this on the head, you can see it gets this kind of rounded look. I wouldn't have it all the way up, but just a little touch, but just a little bit is a nice touch. It works on the head, it works on the bodies and the arm, and it also works on the eyes. It helps capture light in the corners better too. Next we have cosmetics. There are a lot of different cosmetics to go through here. But we'll start off with the top one. First we have breast size, which will just change the size of the breasts. And then when you have some size on them, and then there is also breast angle, which will adjust the point on the breasts. Next you have mouth bevel, which will bevel the mouth inwards and create a little line across, perfect for sound effects or a ba. You also have eye bevel, which will do the same thing to the eyes. You have to turn simplify off for this one. And then next we have eyebrow height. This will just, change the height of the eyebrows. This will just change the height of the eyebrows, and eyebrow taper goes along with that. Next we have 3 depth settings. Eye depth, which will move the eyes to be deeper. Mouth depth, which will make the mouth deeper. And inner mouth depth, which will pull in the inside of the mouth. It's hard to see, but it's useful during some poses if the body is clipping through. There is one thing to remember about the mouth depth. If you move the eyes to be deep and the mouth to be shallow, the teeth will cut out the eyes. There's not really a way around this, it's just something you have to kind of avoid. So make sure your eyes are still visible in front of the teeth. Next we have lipstick, which when applied to a character, it just gives lipstick. There is a thickness slider, so if you need it thicker, and it'll work with subdivision and all of that. Next we have eyelashes and lower eyelashes. These are just a bunch of different options for eyelashes, and lower eyelashes too. After the cosmetics, we have emotions. These emotions can be used to help exaggerate a pose or an animation. First, we have a blush slider. When the slider is anything but 0, you will get a little controller to move it around. We have an anger button, which will toggle this little angry cartoon effect at the top. It has 2 controllers, a position and an animation one, which will move it in and out like this. You can move it forwards and backwards too, just in case if your character has hair that needs to be moved. We then have a right tier and a left tier slider. They don't look like tiers in the material view, but in rendered, they do have a translucent effect, and in solid mode they're blue. And finally, we have emotional. We have little cartoon emotion eyes. You can go through and select these. There's a dizzy, XI, happy, money, and a bunch of others, which you can use to help exaggerate poses. Next, in the mouth area, we have a bunch of little settings related to the jaw and the teeth. So, if we open the mouth a little, you can see the bottom of the head moves down as a jaw. You can make that a rounded one if you want, and you can adjust the strength of it, and if it's not rounded, you can still adjust the strength. If you turn it down to 0, there is no jaw anymore. There is also a jaw shape, which when you're on a rounded jaw, this will adjust the point of the jaw. So if you need this wider one, you can set it to 1, or a pointier jaw, set it to 0. There's also a tongue toggle, which when toggled, There's also a tongue toggle, which when toggled adds a little tongue inside that can be used and animated. And finally we have teeth curve, which will curve the teeth backwards. This helps capture shadow and light for making renders. And finally, for the stylus section, we have materials. This is by far the most complex section, because of the just pure quantity of stuff. But when you actually take the time to sit down and look at it, it's not too bad. So first we have an eye color section. This will just control the color of the eyes for each segment. Now I have solid blue eyes, and now I can make these bottom ones a little brighter. Now he has brighter blue eyes. You can press delete to reset them back to defaults. We have a gradient option, which will turn it to a gradient between the two. Not too visible here, but if I change this to a bright color like white and then green, and then this one to a bright red, you can see the gradient. And there is also an image texture option, which when enabled, the color will go back to blue. You can click this little unpack, and then choose an image from your desktop, and then choose an image that you have saved that'll work as the eye. See, now he's got SpongeBob eyes. Why Bobby's so sad? And now you have an image eye. So you can also toggle the pupil. You can change the scale of it. I recommend holding shift while adjusting these values. You can make it round. You can adjust the position. You can adjust the scale on each axis, the rotation, and you can do this for nearly everything. You can do this for the sparkle. Move it around, scale it, make it round or star-shaped, all of that. And this applies for everything from Sparkle 2. There's a highlight, again, all of the same settings. And there are emission toggles for each eye, along with a brightness setting. Visual strength will adjust how bright it looks, while real light will change how much light it emits around it. Just note that real light only works for cycles. Eevee will just take visual strength only. And then we have a roughness and specular slider, which will adjust how shiny and reflective the eyes are. Next you have eyebrow colors. These are self-explanatory. They're just colors for the eyebrows, along with the eye white colors. Cartoon mouth color, which colors the cartoon mouth when it's visible. The eyelashes, which I have to go... It colors each eyelash individually. And lipstick, also self-explanatory. And lipstick, self-explanatory, a top color and a bottom color. One note about the eye material is that it's very easy to expand upon. I'll cover that in a separate tutorial later in the future. Now we're going to add something to our rig. We're going to add like an item. So now that we're done with all of the main stuff, before we get on to parenting, I want to cover a few of the advanced features. So if we go back to the info panel and turn on advanced mode, there's going to be a few more options in here. Toggle it on and off and you'll see the difference. So, to begin with, we have a convert to IK, convert to FK button on all of our arms and legs. So if I were to pose my character's arm, let's say I realize, oh no, I want to use IK instead. You click the convert to IK button, and now it keeps the pose that it was currently in and enables IK, and now it works like that. And it works vice versa too. Let's say I have a character in a pose like that, and I want to, not like that, like this, and I want to convert this back to FK. Convert to FK. And now it just works like that. This applies for all of the legs, and if you were to go here, move the leg up there, then convert to FK, and move the leg up here, and then convert to FK, you can see it enables the bones too. It enables the ankle bone and everything. Another thing that has appeared with advanced mode is the eye tracker, which when toggled on, gives you this much bigger controller that the character's eyes will track. Not too different at first until you rotate the head. No matter where you put this, the character's eyes will always track towards it, which is really useful if they are looking at someone or something on a table or something. Next we have head squish and body squish. When these are enabled, the head and body will squish inwards when they are stretched. Very cartoony. We have an O mouth shape, which when the mouth is positioned into an O, it's kind of ugly with the simplify on. If we turn subdivisions back on, you kind of see it pushes the lips out to create an O. This is useful for lip syncing, but that's about it. Next we have shoulder deform, which will distort the shoulders when you move the character's shoulders. Not their arms, just these shoulder bones. Also enabled when we have this is the teeth boolean slider. If your project is a little laggy, you can toggle this off and you might get some more performance back. There is also now two more options down. There's also this option called Minecraft Scale, which is enabled by default. When toggled off, the character will scale back up to full size. This is important to remember. This is an important feature that can distort how you're working with extrusions and poses and parenting. I'll come back to this later. Next we have Bake Rig and Reset All. I'll get to Bake Rig afterwards. Resetting all, when clicked, will Resetting all, when clicked, will take the rig back to its original state as much as it can. If you've distorted the mesh, it cannot undo that, but it can undo all poses and settings to the rig. And finally, Bake Rig. Let's say you just spent hours making a character, and you know you don't need the Alex arms anymore because your character uses Steve arms. You can click Bake Rig, and once you confirm, it'll delete the Steve and Thin arms, so that your character only has exactly what they need. The fingers and everything for your current arms will still work, but everything else will be deleted, and only what's necessary for the rig will be left. And that is a way to improve performance. So as you saw just now, we could put the sword at the top, and we could parent it to our character. So as you saw before, we could append the sword and parent it to our character using the twist bone. But now, if I want to add an actual object to my character that will distort with the arms bend and everything, I can take a cube, move it over there. You would use an actual model or a prop or whatever you need for this, but I'm just going to use this for now. And now, this is for the left arm, so I'm going to drag this cube into the left arm folder under meshes. And when I move the arm, you'll see absolutely nothing has happened. And that's fine. When I go down to the parenting menu and I click update parenting, you'll see, wait, what's going on? This isn't how it's supposed to work. And you're right. So we are going to press Ctrl Z and undo that. What we have to do before we use parenting is we have to turn off Minecraft Scale. It is very useful for everything else, but when you parent something, you need to turn it off because it'll offset the whole model. So we move this up to where it needs to be properly, about right there. And now I click Update Parenting. And now you can see it's lined up. It'll distort with the character's arm. And if I add some subdivisions to it, so it can bend easier, I can move it up the character's arm, like that, and it'll wrap around the bend. This is useful if you are adding clothes to your character, or maybe a watch, or for more advanced users, porting a model from Model Bench to Blender. This will help you there. And once you're done, you can re-enable Minecraft Scale. The final thing I'm going to teach you guys. Next, we're going to handle the armor. So if I were to search diamond armor, now I haven't done it for the individual parts yet, but you can drag those into here like normal. But if you want the whole set of armor, you can drag the set into the scene, and then what you're going to want to do is press this and turn off instance. Now you have the armor as individual objects. You can press Alt-G, Alt-R, and Alt-S, and it is now lined up with your character perfectly. Now that we have our diamond armor in our scene, we can select our rig, and we can go to the parenting menu, and you'll see this option called Armor Collection. Select the diamond armor, and then click Parent Armor. And now it is fitted to the character, and it'll rotate correctly. You can see it'll bend and move. All of the legs will work, the arm will work, and the head will work. And that's it for armor. If you need to do an individual piece of armor, you have to do it a more manual way. So let's say I just want to do the helmet. I would just drag in the helmet mesh, and then reset it to defaults with Alt-G, drag it to the head collection, go to the rig, and click Update Parenting. But remember, it doesn't line up by default. So you have to toggle off Minecraft Scale, then scale this up till it fits, and then Update Parenting. Now you can turn it back on, and it'll work fine. You can repeat these steps for the left leg and left boot. We can scale these up until they fit the character. And then we can drag these into the left leg folder and click Update Parenting. And now it'll work with our leg. And that's it. So I've got my own asset library right here, and I'm going to drag in one of the swords, and I'm going to position it to the character. It doesn't matter exactly how, just, make it look good. Now, once you've got it lined up to where you want them to hold the weapon, or the item, or whatever you want them to hold, select your item, hold shift, and select the rig. Go to pose mode, and select the twist controller. See, it's not going to do anything now, but while you have this orange outline around the object you want to parent, press Ctrl P and click bone. And now it'll be parented towards the arm. No matter what you do to it, even with IK and twist, it'll always line up. So that was it for the main tutorial for IceCube. But next, we're going to go on to some of the more advanced how-to section stuff. So first, we're going to say we want to save this as a little character. To differentiate it, I'm going to change its skin real quick, using the skin downloader. I'm also going to toggle off the face, so I can get just the default Minecraft character. Now, just pretend this is a fully done character, and I want to save this so I don't have to redo everything every single time. You can go up to the top, click File, Save As, and then save the file somewhere, probably onto your desktop or whatever you need. Just name it, save. Now, when you open Blender again, you can go to File, Append, Desktop, and then find the rig. Open its collection and search for the one called IceCube. If you can't see it, search at the top. If you've renamed the collection, you'll know what to search for. And append. And now we have our character back and ready to use again. The same issues that we talked about with parenting in Minecraft Scale can apply for extruding. So before you extrude your character, turn on advanced mode and turn off Minecraft Scale. This will just make it nicer to work with and everything will line up fine. And there you go. And then once you're done, you can turn on Minecraft Scale again. And just a reminder that Minecraft Scale does make it compatible with all the current world exporters, and the scale will be, it's perfectly sized to fit those worlds, so you don't have to do the math yourself. Now, it's time for some known issues. So there are some limitations to IceCube. First one being that if you have locked limb rotation disabled, so you can freely rotate the arm, IK and FK snapping will not work properly. If I were to convert this to IK, you can see I lose that custom bend. And then if I move this, convert it back to FK, it's fine, but getting these custom bends will not work when converting to IK. It's just a limitation of how IK works. Here's another one. So if you have the fingers enabled on the rig, some of the tapers, like this left arm taper, will distort the fingers. You can see it here that they kind of get stretched and warped. There is no workaround for this. This is just how it's going to work. You can decrease this effect by not having as strong of a taper and it's less noticeable. And this will apply for the taper and the bulge. You can see it distorts them on the corners. I don't recommend using these together with fingers, but it is possible. There is one more issue I want to go over, which is that on Blender 4.4 specifically, which I've swapped to now for this demonstration, you can see these face controllers and stuff. When you go to material mode, they will disappear. This is nothing that I can fix. It is because these alpha hat layers are stopping the bones rendering. See, when I drag them away, they disappear and reappear. This will affect all Minecraft rigs on Blender 4.4. There is not an exception. There is no fix currently. I have reported it as a bug to Blender, and I'll show whatever the status is of that on screen now. There are a few resources you can use to help you understand the rig better, if this tutorial didn't get you exactly what you needed. On the IceCube wiki, we have a list of every feature. There are more being added constantly. These descriptions will be adjusted as more stuff comes out, and any suggestions I'm welcome to take. Just hit me on Discord. We have a history of the rig, changelogs, downloads, and everything that you need to help learn the rig. There will be full text tutorials up here soon too. Another resource is the IceCube website, and you can go to the source, and you can find a little bit about the rig and some issues, and if you want to contribute, you're more than welcome to make a pull request. And the final resource I have is the Discord server. This Discord server has a bunch of support channels in it. There is a large community of people who are willing to help, or maybe there's people that you can help, and you can join here to get support on your project, or ask questions about IceCube, or just show off your art and creations.